Thomas Jefferson once said, all tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. Don't remain silent. You've just jumped into the Pickle Barrel with author, speaker, commentator, and show host, Bill Pickle.
Good morning, and it is freaky, manic, crazy Friday, and we're going to be covering a lot of things that are freaky and crazy and manic in real life and in politics today, so hold on to your seats. Matter of fact, I felt so spunky this morning, I pulled the old snake shirt out. Look at that. Yeah! So I am freaky this morning, and we're raring to go. Glad to have you here in the Pickle Barrel with us this morning. I tell you, we got a lot to talk about, and we're going to try to cram it all in 2 hours. I hope we can. If we can't, guess what? There's Monday. I mean, we're here Monday through Friday in the Pickle Barrel. Why aren't you? We encourage you to jump in here with us and take part in the conversations and share your thoughts, the issues that bother you, and any solutions you may have to these issues. We would pray that you would bring them to us. We know a lot of people in Washington, D.C., in your local and county government, your state government, they need all the help they can get, because we know they are not doing a whole lot except taking recess. And we'll get more into that here in a minute. But I do want you to jump in here and join the conversation with us. You can do that at the AmericanPatriotRadio.com site. Be sure to get in there, and you can share conversations with a lot of good people in there every morning if you'd do that. We'd appreciate it if you would. You can do it right here on Facebook Live. Make your comments right here. I'd look at those as they come up and refer to them. And even the better way you can get involved is to call in, whatever you want to call it, 712-770-4160, and then hit the magic pin number 263151#. Now look at me, listen to me. When you do that, you're going to be in the queue. When you get ready to talk, you get ready to say your words of wisdom and condemnation, if you be nice about it, hit *6, and that will bring you live on air, and you will be heard all around the world. After all, this is internet radio, you know? Glad to have you here this morning. I tell you what, we do have a lot going on, and before we get into some of the weird stuff, let's talk about politics a little bit. And you know, that's weird enough, I do believe. And but the Republicans are gone. They're leaving town. I imagine they can't wait to get out of town, matter of fact. And I'll bet you that as soon as adjournment took place yesterday, I'll bet you a bunch of them was home before midnight. So they were anxious, just as anxious we are sometimes getting them out of there. You know, one thing about it, when they're out of session, it's very hard to mess up, you would think. But some of them come home and they mess up regardless of what's taking place. And we're going to talk about some of that too. But anyway, they're out of town, and a couple of things are left up in the air, obviously. But the big one, of course, I can't tell you how many messages and calls I got yesterday, even though I was on the road a lot yesterday. All day long. Well, Bill, you were right. They didn't get anything done on the Medicare or on the health care. And so they're leaving town again without keeping their promise. Yes, they are. I can't say anything else other than yes, they are. And, well, I can ask you a question. Are you shocked? Are you really shocked? If you are, then, it may be time for you to look in the mirror and face reality. They don't want to do nothing on this Obamacare. I don't care what anyone says. Nobody really wants to do what needs to be done. They're afraid they're going to offend some people on both sides of the fence. They're going to offend their voters. They're going to offend those that don't vote, but will complain all day long on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else they can. So, I'm really getting to the point wondering, do they really, 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 really care? If they really, really care, if they care about the economy, if they care about the budget, if they care about health care itself, if they care whether or not the rich, the poor, or whoever gets care that are needed, do they really care? Or they care more about some of these Mickey Mouse things that they talk about all the time up there and the games that they play? I'm a little out of shape this morning, little bit out of shape. I was really, really, for a while, expecting more out of the first session. I really was. Well, they're leaving with absolutely no clear path of where they're going. And they say that they're still fighting for a repeal. Yeah. I guess they are. They say they are. If they say it, it's got to be true. I mean, they really would not lie to us. And I don't think they'd really stretch the truth. And I really don't think they'd stretch a good lie any further than they can get away with it. But at least they care. They say, so, they wouldn't lie to us, really? Would they? Well, they started leaving Washington yesterday. They got a month of vacation coming to them. I guess they've earned it. They have basically been away from their families for a while. I guess that in essence, they can say they need to rest and recoup and go home and talk to my constituents and explain why I am doing what I'm doing. Now, what would you have me do different? I'm sure all of them are going to have meetings all over their districts while they're home. Now, Tom Rice says, I've got his schedule. He's going to be traveling all over the state. The district, his district here, PD 7th Congressional District. And, matter of fact, I ran across something I'm going to get here in a minute. I was cleaning up some closet space, and I found something I'm going to share with you guys. I'll grab it at the break time. But anyway, they're leaving without any clear direction, any idea where they're going from here. And, and I'll be honest with you, I would bet you money if they would admit it. If they would admit it, I would win. I'll bet you money there's a bunch of them that really is tired of talking about Obamacare and doing away with it and are redoing it. I'll bet you money that there's a lot of them would just as soon stick this thing in a closet and never see it, hear of it, talk about it again. And speaking of weird, that's weird because they said they were going to take care of this issue. President Trump said it would come down. Don't know his exact words. He used them several different times, different ways, but he said we're going to do away with it. It's going to be gone. We still have it, full force, no change. Uh-oh, somebody made a mistake. Boo-boo. Well, the reality is, it's been, 7? Let me think here real quick. It's been 7 years, I guess, something like that, of Republicans, I'm choking on it, of Republicans saying that we're going to take care of this. 7 years, folks. 7 years. We're going to take care of this. We're going to repeal it. We have the unity. We have the desire. We have the means of doing it. Seems like every day this week I have started off hot. I get upset about some things here lately. Have you ever noticed that? Maybe it's an age thing. I'm getting more hot under the collar than normal. Who knows? Who knows? Whatever it is, I am hot. I am hot. And I am looking for the day that these people will actually get something done and take care of this issue. Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, he's a Republican there in Louisiana, made a comment. He said, I still think something gets through just because there's families that are not going to be able to afford their insurance, middle income families. It's going to be a lot of effort. Yes, it is. It is going to take a lot of effort. It's going to take a lot of effort of you turkeys quit playing friggin' games, get down to business, look at what really needs to be done, decide amongst yourselves what really needs to be done with the influence of your constituents, of course. Don't forget them. That's who hired you, who put you up there, and who you ultimately answer to. Ultimately. And do some of you really care? You're there. You know the American people have a habit of sticking you up there and leaving you until you die, or you afraid you're going to go to jail and you leave, or there's a better job offered by some swamp monger who wants to offer you a job. You're there. So some of you don't really care, I don't think. I've got the job. They're not going to fire me. I really do believe some of you believe that. And some of you have honestly proven it in your districts that is the truth. Well, I think that if I'm correct, and I know I've heard this, I think I've read it somewhere, but I do think, and realistically, I think that this recess will mark the first time lawmakers have been home for an extended period since the repeal effort collapsed in the Senate, which has been a while. 7 years. I'm going to go back to this. 7 years of campaigning against this law. This break marks the first time in nearly a decade that the GOP hasn't lined its talking points against the Affordable Care Act. Folks, the GOP themselves, the Republican Party themselves, they're fighting themselves as much as they're fighting the Democrats, the super liberal Democrats. They're still, they're fighting themselves more than they are them now. And that itself says a lot. Maybe somebody will have some heart searching, soul searching while they're off on break in August. Maybe. I wouldn't bet money on it. I swear I am just about tired of betting anything. I do bet every once in a while with some of my friends and colleagues. We'll bet adult beverage. One night we'll gather together and have adult beverage or a Coke, or I'll fix, I'll smoke some barbecue if y'all will do that. We have these little bets going on. Just a reason to have fun, I guess. But anyway, this season, I hate to tell you this, usually I'm ahead of the game. But this optimistic streak in me has got me in trouble this year. Seems like I am about even or losing instead of being the big victor that I've been in the past. I'm holding on, folks, to that little thread of hope. I still am. I know I get ribbed about that every day by people with American Patriot Radio, with my wife. She laughs sometimes when I'm sitting there and something breaks, and she says, "Oh, I said, "Don't go there," with a big smile, because I know what she's thinking. It's really, really a weird season. It really is. I really don't know what's happening. Ted Cruz, the Republican from Texas, says that our focus should be of honoring our promise to repeal Obamacare and no lower premiums. Under Obamacare, the profits of the 10 largest insurance companies have doubled. The insurance companies are making out like bandits, yet Senate Democrats want to give them billions more in taxpayer money. We should be working for the American people, not the giant health companies. Well, imagine that. Imagine that. Good morning, Neil. Glad to have you with us this morning, sir. So, it's a weird deal. It's a weird deal. Are the American people ultimately going to win this battle, or are we going to be carrying on like we are right now for another decade? 7 years. 7 years is close enough to a decade to consider it another decade. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we do. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Donald Trump doing his best to keeping everybody's eyes on repeal. From day to day, I'm sorry, folks, I still have my mixed emotions about Donald Trump. I'm up, I'm down. I'm up, I'm down. But I'm with him on this one. I don't know if it's so much about the repeal itself or the idea of the GOP keeping their word. Now, I know sometimes keeping your word is not the best thing to do. Sometimes you do need to back off and think about what you're doing. And I have no issue with that as long as you have a very understandable reason on why doing so. Okay? I have no issue with that. However, when you go 7 years with not accomplishing a task, it really does make me wonder, is anybody really serious about accomplishing that task? The open enrollment season for Obamacare is likely to keep healthcare on the front burner. Insurers must finalize rates in the next month. That's their goal. They're finalizing their rates. And it's going to be very interesting to see when those rates are released what our lawmakers will think at that time. I wonder if it's going to be fuel to the fire. Some people are estimating that some of the insurance companies are talking about anywhere between 25% and a 100% increase in their rates. That's a big gamut, isn't it? That's a big gamut. In other words, they're not wanting to say what they're going to do. They're keeping their options open. They're keeping their options open. And you know what? Until they make a decision on what they're going to do, I guess they have to do that. But now, they're really in a real bad position, folks, to having to explain their inaction to all of us. All of us. And when they come back from recess, there's going to be so much on their table, it's unreal. Unreal. And that makes me wonder even more what they will get done, because they're going to be stuck in the mud trying to take care of certain issues before they do others. It's a funny game that we have found ourselves in. Trump. Yesterday, Trump was out, and he made some good comments. He praised West Virginia Governor Jim Justice's decision to shift from the to the Republican Party. Trump was at a rally and touted his support of the coal mining industry and Justice, and what he's frequently championed in the past. Trump says having Big Jim as a Republican is such an honor, referring to the governor's 6'7" stature. He's a big man. I have to say that there are probably a lot of shocked people in West Virginia. just like there would be anywhere where you elect an official, then midstream they change parties. And, I don't know why that shocks people that much anymore. It's getting to be pretty frequently that they do that. Part of the game. So, Justice cited the president's commitment to revitalizing coal within the state as part of his reason for switching parties, which is a reasonable thing. I mean, that is a major industry and in the state, and a lot of employment is directly related to that industry. And so the governor is trying to protect that industry that is so vital to that state. And I guess at this point he decided the only way he can do that is join the party and join the president that's trying to salvage it. To me, that makes sense. That's not freaky news. That's not wacky news. That's reality. In a quote, Justice says, "I can't help you anymore being a Democrat. So tomorrow I will be changing my registration to Republican. And don't you know the press is going to be all over him today as he does that." Good for him. Good for him. Also in yesterday's chat by Trump, he stressed the continued commitment of boosting coal miners, a promise he said a lot of times during his 2016 campaign. And he has not let off on that. Very frequent. You hear him referring to the coal miners and what needs to be done. And he said that I love the people of this state. I love their grit. I love their coal miners. He said this at that rally in Huntington, where the industry plays a major role in the state's economy. And, some people, all right, let me back up. You do know that the governor is a former coal businessman. And you also should know that he is also the richest person in the state. Okay? So, now then, I'm not saying that has anything to do with him promoting the coal industry. However, just a thought. A lot of people, folks, look, if you pay attention to politics much at all, you know some of these people that are out there are just as much a Democrat as they are a Republican. A lot of them are just as much a Republican as they are a Democrat. Well, in the whole scheme of things, this change did not surprise a lot of people. He was a registered Republican as late as 2015. See, he changed to the Democrat Party during his campaign for governor. So a lot of people are not surprised by this change. I'm not surprised by the change. That happens quite often, even especially in local politics, where you have a city councilman or a county councilman, the county sheriff, that will be one party. But when they realize, well, there's no way to get elected to that position that I want unless I change parties, well, they'll change parties, they get elected, and then somewhere down the road, guess what? They come to realize they really need to be in their own original party. The games people play, folks, the games people play. Anyway, so I guess we ought to say congratulations to our new Republican West Virginia Governor Jim Justice. Welcome to the red side. Okay. A couple other things real quick. Let's see here. Last word is that the Republicans, the GOP lawmakers, those who are in the same party, quote unquote, as the president, the party of fiscal responsibility and individual rights and liberties, freedom of the press. Anyway, they are all lined up, I do believe, to give Trump and his ideas, his desires, a lot of HELL when they come back from break. My own humble opinion, okay? You know, they have been fighting him for the last several weeks, especially this last week. You know, they have been boxing, they've been wrestling, whatever you want to call it. They've been fighting back and forth on the Russia situation, the Mueller, health care, the wall. I mean, you name it, you know, they've been squaring off on it in some form or fashion. You know, just this last week, they had a series of moves, a series of major moves with one main goal, reining in Trump. I'm sorry to say that, and I hope I am wrong, but I think the evidence out there tells me that the majority of the GOP is against Donald Trump. And there's various reasons for that. One, they got bills and things out there they want to do that is directly opposite of what Trump wants to see done. Another is that it may put their jobs in jeopardy. It may put their financial stature when it comes to campaign raising and everything else associated with that in jeopardy. Now then, let me say this. The GOP, the Republicans, are not the only one in this situation. So are the Democrats. They're in just as bad shape about this as anyone else. And, you know, this swamp that everybody keeps referring to that needs to be drained, I think that you got Republicans and you got Democrats, you got people on both sides of the fence that are seriously starting to worry about this. And I think they should. And I think the American people need to make sure they are worried about this. And it may take that some of you may have to get off your rump and do something to show them that we are serious. We need things taken care of in Washington, D.C. instead of these friggin' nasty games that y'all keep playing. Well, the Republicans, you know, of course, are getting most of the eyeballs cast upon them in the press about this I'm going to say infighting. It hasn't actually become that bad right now. If you just depends on how you measure it. But I do think that there's a big issue within the GOP party. You know, the GOP delivered a very, very letter of, I'd say their own Declaration of Independence, okay, from their own President Trump when it comes to this Russia sanctions, rebuffing his demands that they try again on health care. After the implosion that just took place. I mean, if I were them, I would be embarrassed to go back and talk about it right now until things cool off a little bit. But they can't do that. They got to get something done, folks. They got to get something done. You know, I think Trump's attempts, his outward, openly war against, and it is a war, folks. I don't care what you say. It is a war. I think that a lot of these things that are taking place right now is putting not just the Republican Party. Exactly, Neil. That's where I'm going. Thank you. Neil says this congressional power struggle is getting us dangerous. It is. And what I'm saying right now is this war is going to take us down some roads we may wish we had never been down. You know, they're very close. You know, I think we have an issue where the president, while he hasn't, I don't think, I keep looking, I keep trying to understand, I do research on these things when I see him do things in question. I have not found yet where it's very clear that I have not seen where it's clear, let's put it that way, that he has overstepped his limits at this time. Now, again, Neil and I, we're brothers in mind here. I do believe, he just put in the chat room, Congress is overstepping the executive branch. Neil, I believe you're right, and that's where I was going. I have not seen it, you know, perfectly clear, to my understanding, where Trump has crossed that fence. Come close a couple of times. But Congress, on the other hand, folks, I think they're already crossed that line more than once. I think they've crossed that line more than once. And it's going to be very interesting to see what takes place. Well, they're on break now, so nothing's going to take place for a while except a lot of yik-yak away from Washington. And I think that you're going to see that there's going to be a lot of conversations, phone calls, meetings between the Republican leadership outside of Washington, D.C., about what they're going to do or how they're going to handle the situation when they get back in town. And I think that Trump's comment about them being total quitters is something I'd take serious, because there's a lot of the American people out here that feel the same way. And I think that number is growing day after day after day. I find it kind of disconcerting that the President of the United States, a.k.a. the head of their political party, a.k.a. also known as the head of their political party, that they rejected arguments and left Washington, D.C. against the will of the people and the president. Kind of weird to me, kind of weird. Chat room is busy. Let's go over here. I suggest they immediately fire Mueller. Actually, they are keeping Congress open to prevent POTUS from pushing nominees through, have made up schedule to hamper him. Congress passed 78 nominees through the one afternoon. Took them 100 days to give POTUS a cabinet. That is part of the game, Neil. Absolutely correct. That is part of the game they're playing. And it's my understanding that at this point in any presidency behind us, most to all of the posts and things that need to be filled have been filled. Not right now. Not right now. Game's still being played. Oh, Lordy. You know, Bill Cassidy from Louisiana, Republican from Louisiana, he said, he says, I think the founding fathers anticipated a tension between the legislative and executive branches. Yes, they did. That's why they put checks and balances into place. And this is the healthy tension. And this is the healthy tension. Even if the president is our own party, they should still be that tension. I agree. Okay, let me clarify. I am not complaining about the tension. There should be tension. What I'm complaining about is there's no work to relieve the tension that is unnecessary. You know, if you solve some of these issues out there that need to be resolved, that can be resolved, that would relieve some of the tension, and then you could be addressing the tension that's being brought up at the same time in the other areas. Jerry Moran, Senator, Republican, Kansas, agreed. He said, for as long as I've been in Congress, and particularly since I've been in the Senate, I look for a stronger Congress. People need to have a stronger Congress. Yes, we do. You won't hear me argue about that. We need to have a stronger Congress. After all, they're the ones that represent the people in their districts, the individual, not the state as a whole, but the individual in their districts. And that's one reason why I get upset sometimes when people say, well, well, he's a Republican. He's not listening to all the people in his district. And, that is a problem in a lot of districts. Even a Republican still represents 100% of the people in that district, not just his party or her party. They represent the people of the district. So what? They voted for him or someone else. They did not vote for him. He's still your congressman. And Mr. and Ms. Congressman, you are still the representative for all the people in your district. And that is one reason, folks, sometimes some of the things these congressmen do, people fight and complain about. They say, well, that's not what the party wanted. Well, remember, in every district, there's more people, or just as many people as there are party people, and the division line between the two are not always equal. Sometimes the things that get passed and really should be considered and getting passed are those that, like it or not, hey, some of these people in the other party have some pretty good ideas. But again, it's that district. It's the district. Senators represent the state as a whole. Congressmen and ladies represent their district. Just like Tom Rice, the 7th Congressional District here in South Carolina, our congressman. He represents a district. Our district is, some like to say it's very red. I say it's purple at most. We have a very, very, very strong Democrat, and Democrat liberal to super liberal. Most of them are, I don't care what anyone says, they're blue dogs, they're demos, but have a lot of leaning toward the conservative side too. And he does that. I've talked about this more than once. He talks to people on both sides and listens to them, and he tries to explain to each one of them in depth why he does what he does. While some of the things I agree with, some of them I don't, but at least he's doing, it appears to me that he's doing what the people of the district want, if we all like it or not. I think he's really working with the majority on each individual topic, not just across the board, but on each individual issue or topic. And I commend him for that. Okay, in the chat room, Neil, if I was POTUS, I would call Congress back to session early every day. They wanted to control sanctions, I'd make them come back and discuss it. I'm calling on POTUS to open a special counsel on every politician in D.C. If they want to go back decades on POTUS, let them look at all of them. No private citizen will stand up to that kind of scrutiny. Amen, Neil. Amen. Can you imagine? I'll tell you right now, there's some things in my background that would probably shock some people. And but you know what? I have learned a lot since I was a whippersnapper, We learn as we go. I've made some bad business decisions in the past. I've made some good business decisions in the past. You want to look at my family life? I've been married, previously married. So, I'm one of those, oh, gosh, he's on his second marriage. He's on his third marriage. He's on his fourth marriage. Guess what? life goes on. And, this, Neil, right, the witch hunt that you're talking about, if you wanted to, you could go out there and find something on everybody. No matter how righteous, how good, how honorable you think they are, you can find something wrong in their history. Hey, listen to me. Nobody is perfect. Yes, sir. I said it here. Nobody is perfect. And I've said it more than once time. There's only one man that was ever supposed to have been perfect, and look what we did to him. And I'll be honest with you, I do not want those things put in my hands or that spear in my side. I don't. Period. First person can stand up and tell me they're perfect, I can tell you they're a damn liar. Period. Exclamation mark. All right. Well, so much for that. Well, I don't know. I still got a couple of things here I want to pass on this topic. The Senator Lamar Alexander, a Republican from Tennessee. President Trump is saying over and over again that he's actually threatened to do this, to just cut off the funding, his cost-sharing subsidies. I don't know the legality of it. It's my understanding that he can put the pen to it and do that. I'm not sure. But I understand that, I've been told by more than one person he can. And which would help stabilize the insurance markets, I do think. It would also be a tactic to destroy the 2010 health care law and enforce Democrats to negotiate, wouldn't it? You would think. Republicans won't go along with it. They're not going to do that. They're not going to go along with it. I'm not saying they should or they shouldn't. I'm just telling you they won't. Lamar Alexander of Tennessee, Republican, says, I've recommended that he continue it. He's chairman of the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee. And he says, I hope that he will. Talking about the recess and what Trump says he still wants and everything, the wall. This is a contentious topic, too, with Republicans. How many times have we heard them talk about the wall, the wall, the wall? Before Trump, they were talking about the wall, the wall, the wall. Now they got somebody that actually wants to do it. They're calling their bluff. And now we got this internal fight. Unreal. Senate Minority Whip John Cornyn of Texas and 3 other GOP senators unveiled immigration legislation yesterday that called for more border enforcement, but made clear that a wall ceiling off the U.S.-Mexican border was not their preferred route. He said in an interview that is now a tremendous opportunity for Congress to take lead on this policy. And he finished the conversation with, as we've seen on the Russian sanction bill, sometimes the president will come along even reluctantly. So now they're going to start trying to call his bluff. They're going to start trying to turn his head away from the wall. And we will be able to make progress. This is what Cornyn is saying. We can get him to turn his head and join us, or at least keep quiet. Good luck on the issue. And then we will be able to make progress. Another sign right there in that comment, folks. And Cornyn is a good guy. I like him. I know him, talked to him several times. He's a good guy. But on this particular case, he is showing us that Congress, the Republicans in Congress and the Senate, need to get together and bypass Donald Trump, the leader, quote, quote, the leader of the conservative party. Historically, you know, it hasn't always been the case that the president is one who sets policy and Congress responds. And he is reminding everybody that that has taken place in the past on numerous occasions over the centuries. And he says that, and I think this is the opportunity we have now, and I welcome that. So, you know, the war is going to continue. And I think that it's a shame. Neil in the chat room says, if Congress of the country think Trump supporters will fall in line, if you take him down, they are mistaken. I will do all I can do to take down the party. If POTUS did something illegal, reference elections, I have no problem. But if they go after the president's past business actions, I will help primary every GOPer that signed on. POTUS showed with his rally last night that there will be consequences if the continued witch hunt continues. Yes, he did, Neil, and I think that he's serious about that. But I think that we are at the point now that not only is some of the GOP congressmen ready to pull out their sword and start fighting, I think the president is too. And be honest with you, that scares the pee-dodely you-know-what out of me. An internal fight like that right now at the place that the GOP is would be disastrous for the party. And believe me, the other side is sitting there hoping, praying that something like this will take place. Oh, Lord, oh, Lord, oh, Lord. I hope it doesn't take place. And Donald Trump, I think him making his move, going around doing these public appearances again, campaign-style appearances, is still one of the best weapons he has. He has the ability to raise the rafters when he has these meetings. They yell and cheer and happy to, you know, all this. But what they need to do is they need to come out of there and they need to let their House members and Senator members know exactly what they think. And folks, you can't let up. Don't think just because you said it one time it matters. It don't. You matter of fact, most of the time, those one-time thoughts don't ever get to him. They're weeded out by somebody in his office. Hope y'all understand that, right? Most of those things don't go to him. So you need to get with your congressman and talk with them. Now then, don't be surprised if you get a form letter back. You know, they do have a lot of things going on, and they have, now this is the way they work, folks. I know this for a fact. This is fact. These congressmen and senators, you know, they do have a lot of things going on. If they tried to answer every single letter, every single text message that comes into their location, they would never leave the room. They'd be doing this 24/7. They assign certain people to address certain issues, and they got form letters that they sign, you know, that's got the computer signed signature of your congressman or senator on there, and depending on what the issue is, you get that particular letter. Okay? Now then, if you've got some clout, if you know one of them personally, oftentimes you'll get responses. I have to knock on wood that most of the time, I say most of the time, I will get a text message or a Facebook message, not post, but a Facebook message or an email from the people I talk to responding. Tom Rice, Cruz, and a couple others. I can't remember once that they've ever declined answering me on something. Let's see. Lindsey Graham, every once in a while I don't get a response. Let's see. Cornyn, I get the farm letter all the time for sure. And every once in a while something from him, but not that often. We don't even try to talk that often anymore. I've kind of gone other directions. But anyway, Neil says, POTUS has the right. Fight with the people. GOP needs to grow a pair and support POTUS over this BS. POTUS turned out a bigger crowd last night than he did same place during the election. Yes, he did. How about that? Neil says, I think we are getting closer to the real Civil War with this. Congress better be careful what they ask for. I'm going to help Primary Graham. There you go, folks. There you go. Are we going in that direction? Folks, more and more people are saying something like that every day. Every day. And some people say, well, now that's those conspiracy theorists that are saying that. That's those fear mongers saying that. Folks, go back in history. We didn't do this day in history this morning. I missed that. I'll do it at the break. A couple of things. Go back in history and look how many times that there's been groups out there that say this, say that, say this, say that. And then maybe a decade or 2 decades later, holy hell breaks loose. I'm not professing it. I'm not predicting it. But I am saying it's possible. It's very possible. And I think that is going to be one of the, I won't say it'd be one of the worst things that could ever happen to this country. We live in a very dangerous, precarious situation right now around the globe. And I think something like that could be very detrimental to us at this time. But at the same time, when is the good time to set the record straight and get us back on course? Oh, Lordy. Neil says, let's see here. They are insane that they think they can take the not so silent majority candidate down and not be consequences. I think you're right. There's, Neil, I like I said before, I don't necessarily believe in everything in the manner of how Trump does things, but he's still our president. But you look at the number of people out here, and I'm not talking about just in the South. I'm talking about in the central United States, the breadbasket. I'm talking about southwestern United States. The West Coast, maybe not California. The East Coast, maybe not New York. The Canadian states across the border. It still amazes me the number of people that still yell and scream and jump up and down and whistle and all that when Trump walks into a room. It amazes me. And even on social media where you see all the hate and all the disgust going on, just about everything that is put out there, you see a trumpeter, pulling out the trumpet and blowing it and responding to all of these issues. And usually it's like about 10 to 1. There's about 10 Trumpers jump on every single one person that comes out and says something negative. So how strong is his base? How strong is the group that follows him? Pretty darn strong, if you ask me. Pretty darn strong. Neil is really chatting this morning. Neil, appreciate it. They are insane if they think they can take the not-so-silent majority candidate down. We knew he was a businessman with all his flaws. If they take him down over some financial BS, will be payback for their actions. Neil says, and this is Neil's quote, "I'm pissed off." Neil, there's a lot of people in the same situation. A lot of people. And, I am that way right now with Congress walking away. I'm one of those that say they had to get something done for this break, and they didn't. And I'm really hacked off that they would not get their act together and take care of some of this business for the break. Because now when they come back, there is going to be such a number of things they have got to take care of. I don't know how they're going to do it. I just don't know how they're going to do it. Oh, gosh. Yeah, you're right. 12 days. 12 friggin' days. 12 days. I don't know. Going to be something to behold. All right, we're approaching the top of the hour. I think we're going to go ahead and take our break right now. And if we can, let's get some good patriotic music in here playing. And I'm going to have to go get me some more H2O. Yeah, I am so sick of water, but I am trying my best to lose weight. And, I am I'm 60. Oh, wait a minute. I got to add what I've lost so far. Been back on it. 64. I am 78 pounds down from when I started, but I still got about 40 more to go. So just think how much less room I'll be blocking on my banner behind me if I can do that. All right, we're going to go to break. We'll be right back here in the Pickle Barrel because we do have a lot of things to talk about and try to figure out, is there a way to get out of this barrel we're in? We'll be right back in just 2 or 3 minutes. Don't run off.
That was Keep On Keeping On, D-Rock. Look up and follow D-Rock over on Facebook at My D-Rock, MYDEEROCK, and follow on Twitter as well at D-Rock Country. You're listening to In the Pickle Barrel right here on AmericanPatriotRadio.com.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, gosh, I tell you what, I've got to do something sad here for a minute. And, Dave, you reminded me with that song there in D-Rock. Good friend of mine was killed the other day, and I did not know about it. He was killed overseas. He was in Jamaica and had a car accident. Second one of my friends that has had a head-on car collision in the last month. The first one was a family. Every one of them were injured. One of the daughters very seriously. Matter of fact, she's been transferred to another hospital for better care and therapy and things like this. And her husband, the husband had both legs shattered. And they say that, well, he was just transferred last week, and they say that it will probably be a year, possibly a year that he'll be there trying to get his life back together. Swagger was a disc jockey at the radio station that I started out at in the Pickle Barrel. And he was a very, very, very popular disc jockey. You can tell by his name. Dwayne DJ Blaze Malcolm. DJ Blaze was another nickname. Dwayne Malcolm was his name. Locally, he was named Swagger because he had that swagger. And there were hundreds of people that turned out to the streets outside the radio station as they paid homage to him. And I got to tell you, good guy, talented guy. Oh my gosh, such talent. And people around this area here will certainly miss him. And I just wanted to let everybody know that I too will miss his gaiety, the enthusiasm, the excitement, the community heart that he had. Yeah, you can tell by his name, he was a black Democrat, but I tell you what, he was one hell of a man, no matter what his political standings were. We got to remember that, folks. There's a lot of good people on both sides of that fence. Okay, there is a court case here in South Carolina that people all across the country, churches particularly, were watching to see what would take place. The Episcopal Church here split. There were several people that split off and separated their local diocese, their local churches, and they split them off. And the church here began back in 1758, I believe it was. So it's been old here in South Carolina. Well, they split off, and what they did, they said that, and they started treating it like this. They said that the properties that they occupied, the churches that they occupied, all that stuff, all the contents, the property, the church itself, all of that was theirs, not to the church itself, the diocese. Okay? And so anyway, this case has been going on for a while. Well, the Supreme Court in South Carolina finally came out yesterday and declared that that is not so. That they are going to have to forfeit all of the church's properties and contents back to the diocese. Now, look, this is going to be hard on some of these places. We're talking about an estimated $500 million worth of churches and stuff. Now, you got, in South Carolina, let's clarify one thing. The individual Episcopal churches are not that big to start with, okay? They're not the big, humongous things you see in New York City or Chicago or any big community. These are little churches. Some of them have very, very low membership, but the bottom line is they don't no longer own that building or the properties or anything else. And so there's a lot of church groups all across the country going right now because they did have their eyeballs on this. Now, the trial court judge had reviewed the Episcopal Church incorrectly, is what the Supreme Court said. And the Episcopal, with no structure to prevent individual parishes from leaving. The justice said the church is a hierarchical organization with a structure. And therefore, since you've got this, and they all answer to the church, kind of like the Roman Catholics, they got the Pope and you got the man, right? So anyway, this is something that was big news for a lot of places in South Carolina and the country too, because this does set kind of a precedent, and anything goes on from there, we'll have this to back up on as evidence that they're right on this. So I just wanted to throw that out there too. Let me check the chat room again real quick. The question should be how they own $500 million worth of untaxable property. Neil, that is something that still irks a lot of people. that the churches are not taxed, all that kind of stuff. And, there's still people asking. There's still people fighting to change that, and there's a lot more people fighting to leave it alone. So that's the way that goes. Okay, I got to do it. I'm going to break out here. This is Freaky Friday, and I got some freaky things I have found over the last several days, trying to keep up with some of the weirdness that's going on out there. And folks, some of these are going to be a little bit on the normal outside of where I go, but I think that it just shows you how freaky things can really be. All right, New Jersey. A man is arrested for allegedly breaking into a home. And here's where the big issue comes in here that made this weird, okay? There's two sisters and a baby that were alone in their home Wednesday when they said a man broke in around 9 a.m. This is not one of those nighttime break-ins. This is one of the daytime. Okay. Now, according to CBS News, they say that she was watching her baby nephew while her around 21, they didn't give the exact age, 21 for, old sister was showering. Her sister then ran frantically from the bathroom saying there was a man in the room. Now then, the man had taken off all of his clothes, and while she hid behind the shower curtain screaming at him to get out, he crawled in the shower. Now, folks, evidently, according to the report, is that she did not know this guy either. It's somebody that saw her, evidently. And according to some of the reports, says that he just wanted to be close to her. Had no other intentions, just wanted to be close to her. Okie dokie. Now, I don't know about y'all. But that is kind of weird. Neil says, stop with that. I've been threatened with taking a property due to taxes. You can say that all you want, but I don't have $1 million to fight for it. Okay. Talking about his property and the taxes. Okay. So folks, I don't know about you. I don't think I'd ever had that problem. I don't think I'll ever have that problem. Oh gosh. Anywhere. Kerrville, Texas. Nice little town. Not a big town, little town. Kiss frontman Gene Simmons is no pun intended here, utterly thrilled by a new calf that was born there that had a striking resemblance to his black and white markings to the face paint that he wears when he's on stage. Now, I have seen him live, and he does look weird. You think it looks weird in pictures? It looks more weird in real life. He tweeted his admiration for the calf on Sunday, saying, "This is real, folks." Now, this calf was born last Friday, August the 2nd, and in a ranch near Kerrville, Texas, which is about 60 miles southwest of San Antonio, folks. For those of you not from Texas, you just go down past San Antonio, down past the Alamo, and then you head southwest. It's right before, if you're familiar with Texas, it's right before you hit the oh gosh, lost my thought here. The old church route, the old churches, Mission Trail. It's right before you get into the Mission Trail area. So that's where Kerrville is. And just to share with you, I don't know if I'm supposed to or not, but I did print these photos because I wanted to show you this. And I read the photo and it didn't say anything on here, but I couldn't. So I want you to look at these and tell me what you think. Now, come on. Don't they look familiar? Don't they look similar? I mean, look at the paint, the hair. Look at the tongues. I mean, those guys look like they could be twins. For those of you that don't have Facebook Live watching this, you can go to Facebook and watch it later. But I'm telling you, I thought it was weird. I mean, very weird. But anyway, that happened in Kerrville, Texas. Okay. This happened, oh gosh, this one was from overseas. This was in Britain, I believe it is. E-mobile phones, they don't call them iPhones over there, they're e-mobile phones, could be blocked for use in cars. The mobile phone today is, you know, let's face it, this thing right here is with me 24/7. And I was a late bloomer to the cell phone. I just, you know, held on for a long time. I got me a BlackBerry. Oh, man, was I in high cotton at that time. I had me a flip BlackBerry. And it wasn't until just a few years ago that my wife convinced me, when the iPhone 6 came out, that, Bill, look, you need to become more of a modern man. You need to get you an iPhone. And I said, I don't want an iPhone. Well, next thing I know, she's home. She went to get hers. I had an iPhone. And I have been attached, just like all of you, by the hip to this phone since that time. I actually do more work on my cell phone than I do on the computers at home. My Chromebook, I use my phone more than anything to communicate and to write. Well, they are saying that the mobile phone today being a must-have item, even in the smallest towns or villages there, and here too, by the way, it is normal to see a person using one. It was, however, not always that way, because it was for the use in, you know, you could not use them in your car. Because a lot of people were in the car and they wouldn't work. And then, you know, now they do. You can get them anywhere. You know, it was redone. You know, I don't even listen to the phone itself, you know, Bluetooth. You know, I can put my phone up there, phone rings, it rings through the radio. Most of y'all already knew that, I know, but I only started doing it a few months ago. And now I can go down the road and talk and talk and talk and talk. Not even have to look at the phone. You know, it picks it up just very well. I've done shows driving down the road, talking on the phone. Of course, I'm not holding it, but I've gone down the road. Y'all know that. Y'all seen me, heard me do shows when I'm sitting at rest stops and all of that. And but now, this has brought the 21st century into some problems, because when we wish to contact someone for whatever reason, trivial or important, we simply dial it, use a speed dial. What happens, though, if that person happens to be driving a car, or as well as you know, it is human nature to answer summons. You know, if you get a call, most people answer the phone. I've got a friend of mine who happens to be my bank person, and she's at home with her grandchildren this week. She had a new grandbaby, and I'm so glad she's happy and spending some time with them. But she has a program, and I got to find this, that when you call her or text her, it automatically comes back, can't talk, driving down the road. I need to find that. So, hey, good morning, Mike. How are you, sir? Glad to have you joining us this morning in Facebook. Al, glad to have you there too, sir. And I see you made a comment. I'll get to it as soon as I finish this here, and we'll see what we can talk about there with that. So anyway, there's car wrecks happen every day. I know I almost had a head-on accident right here in my neighborhood a few months ago, where a young lady came speeding through the neighborhood, about a 25-mile speed limit. She was doing about 45. She come over the hill And as I was coming up the hill, she was coming up the other side of the hill. And guess what? If I didn't see her and I didn't go halfway into the neighbor's yard, we would have had a head-on collision, and she had her phone in her hand. Several years ago, I was texting while driving, and I almost hit one of my neighbor's mailboxes. I mean, I thought my mirror on my car was gone, but I swerved enough. That was the last time I texted in the car. So anyway, they are trying to say that phone calling, text messaging, and everything may be outlawed totally in England, Great Britain, and that, with technology like we have now, hands-free technology, it makes no sense for anybody to be holding a phone and being distracted while driving, because you can talk just like you can sing with the radio, you can talk with the radio as you're going down the road. Now then, did some homework. This law will have a 200-pound penalty. Now, 200 British pounds today, I looked it up this morning, equals $262.91. And 6 penalty points on their insurance. And if a death occurs when a driver is texting or talking on the phone, they are subject to penalties up to jail for life. Kind of makes me think it'd be a good time to quit talking on the phone as you're going down the road, doesn't it? Oh, gosh. The pound is way down. That's true. It is down. Dollar's going up, though, hadn't it? And, well, dollar's kind of so-so, but the stock market has gone way up, isn't it? Come on, retirement investments. Keep on growing. Yes, sir. Keep on growing. Please. It's getting closer and closer and closer to the 2 years away. Wife can retire full benefits. Okay. Oh, mercy, mercy, mercy. We talk about the future. Did you know in real life that we now have RoboCops in a police force? Yes, sir, we do. It's in Dubai. There is a RoboCop joined the police force to fight real crime. This came out in, I just saw this as I was doing research. This actually came out on the 9th of June. That in Dubai, they got it as the Omni Consumer Products is the name of the corporation. It's a mega corporation. Says they do have a super cop, and they're calling it RoboCop. And Dubai has now got this. I didn't print a picture of this. I wish I had of, but it's a robot. It is a robot. It's not a, man machine combined. It's a robot that patrols a busy area of the city. And he's clad in colors of the Dubai police uniform. His metal is the same color as their uniforms. He's wearing a hat made out of metal like theirs. But it can shake hands. It can salute, military style salute. It can read vehicle license plates. It is equipped with cameras and facial recognition software. It has video. It can help police watch for risks such as unattended bags, things like this. And the good thing about it, they say, is that this policeman is on duty 24/7, does not take vacation, does not take time off. It is on duty 24/7 to report crimes. And so I think that's kind of cool, kind of neat, but I find that kind of weird. All right, now I told you I had a couple of weird things that I want to talk about, and I'm going to save the worst till last. The worst till last. Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is going to China. They are putting in the cherry Coke out there. They've had Coke for a while, but now they're going to put the cherry Coke out there. And the picture on the can is going to be Warren Buffett. Now, all of us have seen these Coke cans with people's names on them, you know, so you can have one and you're like, I can have one that says Bill. My wife can have one that says Susan. And you've seen the flirty advertisements where, you know, a cute girl gets one delivered by this guy and he starts walking over there and turns away because there's somebody else talking to her. And then she comes over to the restaurant tent there, and she brings one with her name on it and one with his name. Oh, how sweet. How sweet. But anyway, Warren Buffett is going to be on it. Now, folks, I don't know why, but, you know, he is the head. You know, he's a man of principle and noted for his frugality, all in spite of his staggering wealth. You know, of March of this year, he's the second wealthiest person in the United States with a net worth of almost $79 billion with a B. He has pledged to give away 99% of his fortune to philanthropic causes when the time comes he's gone. And, you know, so I guess they're honoring him by putting his face on that Coke can. Now, I've got a lot of Coke cans, Pepsi cans, things like that over here in my collection, you know, that has presidential people on them, campaigns, you know, baseball, football championships, things like that. But I don't think I'm really going to go out and try to find one with Warren Buffett's picture on it. I just don't see it, you know. Okay, check the chat room again real quick. Amazon only passed him for a few hours. He's still number one. Amazing. Amazing. I go around trying to save 20 cents a gallon on gas. He don't have to worry about anything. That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. Oh, gosh. Now, you know, they announced they were going to do this on Buffett, by the way, on March the 31st, and everybody thought that it was an April Fool's joke until they actually saw him for real in China. So anyway, I thought that was kind of cute. Okay, now this one, folks, is going out there, and then I'm going to get off the weird news. This one's kind of weird, and I've done some research to verify this really happened, because I just could not picture it. And I found several sources, legitimate news sources, that had a story on this not on the front page for sure, but they had it. A man was arrested. This was back in June of last year. A man was arrested trying to scan his manly part, his penis, on a supermarket self-service checkout. I told you this is stuff that I normally don't talk about, but this one just befuddled me. You know, I can remember when we didn't have cell phones. I remember when we didn't have supermarket scanners. Never saw anything like this take place, and I hope I don't. But can you believe that someone did this? And the headline on it was, "This is not a pipe dream." Anyway, the store said that they gazed in amazement at the huge, shiny new Xerox copier in the general office when this cane showed up. And they said this is something that is kind of juvenile behavior, and quite frankly, peanuts compared with what happened in other stores. And, well, this was another incident where they had something similar, except it was a woman's upper part, her breast, okay? So I guess this guy thought he was going to top that. And he said, but this case is absolutely, frankly, peanuts compared, talking about the breast, to this case. And so when the male worker saw one of his colleagues at the store looking kind of funny and kind of staring and going, he looked over and this guy was in the self-serve doing this. And so they said that the police were called. The staff described the staff described what took place and identified as much as they could the avenging piece of body. I don't know. And anyway, they say now that they think that this may start a trend. You know how those people walking down the street just turn around, just get knocked down somebody, punch them deadly. Some people have been really hurt bad with that. Now they're saying that they think that this may be a trend that may be starting. And folks, I tell you what, I don't know. Anyway, I thought that was kind of weird, funky, and gross at the same time. So anyway, that's my weird and freaky Friday news for the day. Woo-wee. Let's go back and check the chat room, see what's going on. Oh, God. Let's see here. Candy covered that story the day it happened. It was funny. Oh, gosh. Okay. You must have been listening to her for a while. This was June of last year. Why are we reporting trivia from June? Not that we have enough weird crap going on today. 5 to 43% care. Old care increases coming. Dems were demonizing repeal of CBO. 20%. SC is one of the dozen that will be 30 plus. It was 23% of mine last year to $1,148 per month. We'll be paying penalty this year. Yeah, Neil, it's not serious news. But every once in a while, I think we have got to step back and just take a breath. And, some people don't. And I tell you what, I'd hate to be one of the people that live in constant misery and hate and distrust 24/7. I think sometimes we've got to step back. Like sometimes you got to take a vacation. Get away from the house, get away from the job, get away from all the things that you have to do every day. Just get out there. And I think most psychologists would agree sometimes it's good just to escape, whether it's physically or mentally. Take a deep breath and just relax. And that's why I do this. Every once in a while, I'll do these Freaky Friday things. And that's why my wife and I, we will do sometime. We'll be sitting around here and I'll be looking at the yard thinking, God, what I need to do will be there Monday when I get off the show. And we'll just jump in the car and we'll go somewhere for the weekend. So next weekend's her birthday. And I am trying to come up with a surprise little road trip for her next weekend. Just to escape, get her away from work now. She's the one that works 24/7. She's on call 24/7. And so I try to get her out of town and we'll do something weird, Weird. Okay. All right. Now then, let's get back to some of the other issues here that I've got here. There is a study that's been done that older people die on the job more than young people. Believe it or not, they're studying this. And as you know, there was a time that people looked forward to retire. There was a time that, man, when it came retirement time, you punched that clock, you left, and you were gone. Well, I'm seeing more and more people. I'm seeing more and more folks that do not want to retire. And a lot of them, it's not because they can't, that they need the job, is that they just find retirement boring. They would rather be out working and being around people doing something than sitting at home in a rocking chair doing nothing. Well, I, for one, I'm the same way. If I wasn't that way, I wouldn't be doing this show every day. I can't imagine being retired, sitting there doing nothing. And so, I found retirement to be my relief from boredom. It gave me a cause to be active. And be honest with you, I probably talk to, and meet as many, if not more people now than I did when I was in business. And it still surprises me when I'm out of town, even out of state, when some people will walk up and say, "Are you by chance the end of Pickle Barrel guy, Bill Pickle?" And I say, "Well, I am." "Well, I have seen your show. I've seen your thing on Facebook, and I thought you looked familiar." That surprises me, and it gives me even more purpose for being involved and being active in my so-called retirement. Candy was trying to track me down yesterday for a discussion on a couple of things, and I was telling her, as soon as I get off the show, I've got to go down to Beaufort, South Carolina for a meeting. Beaufort is just about 2 hours from where I live. But see, I say only 2 hours. Some other people say, 2 hours? Couldn't you do it on the phone? Well, no, I wanted to have a face-to-face meeting. And they agreed, and so I went. And, it was 2 hours back. Actually, it was 2 hours and 15 minutes there because there was some incidents on the highway. Just stalled us a little bit. But on the way back, I had the AC on. It was too hot for the top down. But I had the AC on. I had Southern rock playing, and I was having a blast going down the road, relaxing. But there are a good number of people that are going back to work for the sake of not being alone, or they need the money. And the evidence is there. Older people are dying on the job at a higher rate than workers overall, even as the rate of the workplace fatalities have decreased somewhat over the last few years. They are still leading in dying on the job. And that's I can't decide whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's bad to die. I don't care where you're at. But what I'm talking about is that they have not been able to get out and enjoy their retirement. Traditionally, people, when they reached age 65, call it quits. 65. Due to Mother Nature, I called it quits a couple of years earlier. Most of y'all know the stories. One summer bit by a copperhead, next summer actually struck by lightning. My wife suggested maybe I ought to think about retirement, and I said, "I've already thought about it, dear. I'm retired." And then I started getting involved in all of this, and I'm still retired, but I have something to do, right? So they're saying now the U.S. government estimates that by 2024, older workers will account for at least 25% of the labor market. There's that many people coming back into the workforce. Mike Purnell on Facebook says, "I intend to work as long as the Lord gives me health and strength to do so. Retirement has never really appealed to me. It's okay for others, just not me." Same here, dude. If I don't keep myself active in these different organizations and volunteer work that I do, I would be absolutely bonkers. Some say I am anyway, but that's a different story for a different time. But getting older and the physical changes associated with it could let's face it, potentially that's a big issue. That's a big issue. Some of us, if are not as quick as we used to be. if we're in a situation where something takes place where you have to move quickly to avoid getting hit or something, some of us are going to get hit right between the eyes. I don't move as fast. When I was doing my 3-mile walk yesterday, my 3-mile walk took me longer. And it seems like it's taken me longer over the last year. Used to be I could do that thing pretty briskly. Now, and I wouldn't take water with me like an idiot. Now, when I take my 3-mile, it's actually 3.2 miles. I drove it off from my driveway around the neighborhood so I know, because I wanted to walk 3 miles, and it just happens to be 3.2. So I'm exceeding my goal every time I do it. Sounds good, don't it? But anyway, now I carry my water. I mean, I got a 16-ounce jug that I carry with me. Now, that's not a lot of water, but what I do when I make the first loop, I refill it, keep my legs moving in place. I stand there, I fill it, and I hit the road again for the other loop. So I get my whole 3.2. So, I do that. And, even yesterday, I got real tired. It was hot, though. Oh, it was hot. It was muggy. I was stupid for doing it in the middle of the day, but I wanted to get it done. I haven't done it every day like I used to. I skip a day or two here now and then. And so I'm back on my diet. I got to lose the weight, and I got to walk, and I got to drink plenty of water so I don't just lose my weight. I don't want to lose my life, too, so I'm trying to keep hydrated. So in 2015, about 35% of the fatal workforce accidents involved 55 and older, or they made up 1,681 deaths of the total 4,836 fatalities for that year. Workplace deaths. People fall. The older you get, the more inclined you are to fall. You don't move as fast. That just happens. That just happens. So the federal data, the AP analysis that the AP did is based on data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, census, and fatal occupational injuries, and they also had 1-year estimates. And so this is not good. This is not good. Now, this excludes cases where the cause of death was from natural causes, such as heart attack or stroke, okay? These are deaths on the job, doing the job, okay? Fall-related fatalities rose 20% in 2015. Contact with objects and equipment increased 17%. Transportation accidents increased 15%. Fires and explosions decreased by 8%. So it's those things that you're active in, obviously, are the ones that cause the deaths. And, that's a shame. That's a shame. But you know what? As far as I say that's a shame, it's hard on the company. It's hard on those bystanders that see things like this take place. It's hard on the families. But you know what? That's an individual choice. And as long as they can do the work or feel they can do the work and they want to do it and their bosses are happy with work they do, so be it. It's not my job or your job to judge them. It's crazy. It's crazy. Neil, wear sunscreen. I'm going also later. All right. Thank y'all for being here this morning. And I tell you what, I do wear the sunscreen, Fletch. I put that stuff on anytime I walk outside now. All right. Y'all have a good weekend. All right, folks, we still got a few more minutes here in the Pickle Barrel, so we're going to continue, and we're going to go down some other avenues now. Okay, Rome. We're going to take a little trip around the globe here for just a second. Rome, that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. God knows I fell in Rome the first time we were there. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love the history that's there, the architecture, the people. Folks, I tell you what, everything I heard from people about when I went to Rome, do not do this, the people hate us, blah, 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 I found right the opposite. We had a blast. Of course, my wife and I have a habit of having a blast on our trips. But the people in Rome were polite to us. We had dinner with a couple of them. We'd go into a restaurant and they'd be crowded. They'd invite us to join them at their table. They would buy wine. I'd buy wine. They'd buy wine. We'd sit there and have a party. And everybody was courteous on public transportation. Cab drivers were courteous. Some of them didn't speak English as good as I do, but, you know, they tried. And we just had a blast. Well, water everywhere. That's one thing I liked about it. Water everywhere. You had the canals, you had the rivers, you had the fountains, you had the ponds, water everywhere. Well, now, if you go look at some of the pictures that you'll see, they are in a bad crisis. The Tiber River. Oh, God, how beautiful was the Tiber River. I mean, you got the Vatican right in that area. You got the old castles in that area, museums. You got so much to do there. The old city and the Tiber River right down through the middle. Most recent picture I saw of it is you have this little bitty stretch of it in the center, about the width of one column to the next column of river in the bridge. And there's several columns going across, one column to one column. And the rest of it is knee high in weeds and brush. It looks more like a marsh than it does a river. And some of it is dry enough it has cracks. Fountains. I did some looking, and one of the fountains in St. Peter's Square at the Vatican is completely shut down. They shut it down because of trying to conserve water. And, you know, that is a shame. That is a shame. Lake Bracciano, I think that's the way you pronounce it, Bracciano? I can't remember how they pronounced it now. I'm sorry. It's outside of Rome. It now is under emergency order as of this past last Friday. This will allow water to be drawn from the lake, albeit in lesser volumes. They're trying. You know, you cannot pull water out of the lake anymore. It's so dry. There's pictures of it where it looks like, to me, in the photos, that you can go out a good half mile to a mile inside that lake and not touch water. You know, we've had instances like this in California in the past. I'm not sure how their drought situation is today. That'd be an interesting thing to find out. But, you know, again, Mother Nature and overusage by people. You know, you can't blame it all on Mother Nature, folks. Some of it you can, but remember, there's more and more and more and more and more people utilizing the water also. And more and more and more and more farmers, because you got to have crops to feed the additional people also. So don't all of you wackos that say everything's due to our treatment of the nature badly. You can't say that. And it's not all global warming either, folks. All right. So there's that. Oh, Lordy. For you smokers, I don't know how many of you out there still smoke. I did for about a week when I first got into college back in 1968. I decided that 69, I'm sorry. I knew that didn't sound right. I smoked for about a week. I just could not figure out what in the heck people thought was so cool about it. It stunk. It tasted bad. Made me cough. Gave me bad breath. Smelled it on my clothes. I just could not understand, hey, what's the big deal, you know? I think it's a drug addiction. I think it's a drug addiction itself. You know, we can't legalize marijuana, but we can still allow smoking. Which one's worse for you? I've read reports that the tobacco is. Anyway, different story. Anyway, FDA is targeting the addictive levels of nicotine in cigarettes again. This is the evidently the first time since 2009 that they've really taken a serious look at this, about doing something about it, about cutting back on the amount of nicotine that's in cigarettes. Obviously, the tobacco industry, cigarette industry, is having a fit about this. We still have quite a bit of tobacco grown in South Carolina, nowhere near what it was. Used to be we were the leading source of tobacco. Not anymore. And there's other states that do it a lot more than we do. Well, Virginia and all those other states. It's unreal. It's unreal. But part of the new strategy apparently is giving e-cigarette makers 4 more years to comply with the review of products already on the market. Some people are saying that e-cigarettes is just as bad for you as cigarettes. I don't know. I don't keep on top of that stuff because it does not really matter to me that much. That's a personal choice issue until tax dollars have to be used for your medical expenses because you're so stupid to smoke in the first place. My humble opinion. You know, it is a choice. It's kind of like the transgender surgeries in the military. If you want to do it, fine and dandy. Just don't come asking me to pay for your discretions, the result of those discretions. If you smoke, that's a personal choice. Bite the bullet and pay for your treatment. Ooh, that sounds cold, don't it? That sounds idiotic. But it's not. It's a choice. It's a choice. I make the choice to smoke pork butts and ribs and stuff like that in my backyard. If a spark flies out of the smoker and it starts a grass fire or the tree that it's under, which is very tall, by the way, not close to it, if it sparks a fire there, it's not the fireman's fault. It's not your fault. It's my fault. And I should pay the consequences. I believe that's the same way when it comes to drinking. I feel it's the same way when it comes to smoking. I believe it's the same way when it comes to drug abuse. That's a choice you made, and by God, if there's penalties, if there's injury or sickness or something like that, you should be the one paying for it, not me and your neighbors. Damn, I sound mean all of a sudden, don't I? Rawr. Snake time, you know? Okay, anyway, that's just another one of my thoughts on this Friday. Oh, gosh, let's see here. What else have I got over here that I can spew out real quick? Oh, by the way, our guest yesterday called in, and he did hit a dead zone on the road and apologized for that. And he said that he thoroughly enjoyed being with us and re-invited me to come out and take a tour of his plant. And I'm going to do that within the next week or two, give him a call and go out there and look at that. And if I might even take a few pictures of it and put it on American Patriot Radio so y'all can see what all the excitement it is out there in that area. And I hope that's okay. All right. Oh, I tell you what, let's do. I'm going to pick on some damn Yankees. No, not damn Yankees, because we know damn Yankees. The difference is a Yankee is someone comes down to the South and visits. A damn Yankee is one that comes down here and stays. Now, that's a joke, folks. I don't believe in the damn Yankees, okay? But I do believe that Mayor de Blasio is in deep trouble in New York City. I do believe they are in deep trouble. His job approval rating is wilting this summer. As Quinnipiac poll says, it's wilting in the summer heat and now stands 50 to 42%, down from 60% favorable to 30 for down from 60%. It was 60% favorable, 34 unfavorable. Now it's 50% favorable, 42 unfavorable. And this was back in May. But he still is on top. You know, he's up for re-election. He's still on top. The little-known Republican challenger, Nicole Maliotakis, who is a 2% approval rating in the poll. Now, Quinnipiac is one of my favorite. They are one of my favorite. They do. Wofford College in South Carolina is the other one. Those two, on average, over a long haul, probably have the best, closest polls of any that you see. And I look at a lot of them. I try to get the average, and I look at who and how they took them. And these two are usually pretty close to the top, if not at the top, on anything they do. Well, money is going to come into play here. Money is going to come into play. De Blasio has a ton of money. The other gal, she does too, but, you know, not as much. One of the questions out there is, does the mayor deserve re-election? And again, depending on who you talk to, and this is one of the questions in the survey. The voters are right now, whether you like him or not, are for the first time, in his career as mayor, evenly split on that particular topic, on that particular question. Does he deserve it? They're evenly split, with those undecided almost on that same par. So, you know, yes, no, undecided. That tells me that race could go in either direction depending on their campaigns, etc. Now then, I here at the very last here, Dave, would you please show this ad real quick? Play this ad I sent you. I want y'all to listen to this. I'm not supporting, I'm not endorsing, I'm not recommending anything this candidate. All I'm doing, I want you to listen to a good political ad. Listen to the content of it and what she says and how she says it. This is a lady running against, well, just listen to it.
When I was 12 years old, I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I grew up. I wanted to fly fighter jets, aircraft carriers, because that's the stuff I wanted. When I was 13, my congressman told me I couldn't fly in combat. He said Congress thought women ought to be protected and not allowed to serve in combat. I never got a letter back from my Senator Mitch McConnell. I then wrote every member of the House and Senate Armed Services Committees asking them to change the law. I said they just hadn't met me yet, and I knew I could do it, but most of them told me I couldn't. Then I got into the Naval Academy, and wouldn't you know, that's when they changed the law. I'm Amy McGrath, and I love our country. I spent 20 years as a U.S. Marine, flew 89 combat missions bombing Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. I was the first woman Marine to fly in an F-18 in combat, and I got to land on aircraft carriers. Now I'm running for Congress against Andy Barr in my home state of Kentucky. He's Mitch McConnell's hand-picked congressman who said he would vote enthusiastically to take health care away from over 250,000 Kentuckians. Mr. Barr, my mom is a polio survivor who became one of the first women to graduate from UK medical school. A lot of people told her she couldn't achieve her dreams either, but she persevered and ended up treating many of the same kind of people whose health care you and Mr. McConnell would take away. This is my new mission, to take on a Congress full of career politicians who treat the people of Kentucky like they're disposable. Some are telling me a Democrat can't win that battle in Kentucky, that we can't take back our country for my kids and yours. We'll see about that.
All right. All right. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. All right, folks. Now look, I don't care if she was a Democrat or Republican. I don't care if she's a woman or a man or transgender or whatever else I have to be politically correct to say. Just say I don't care. That was a good ad. And the reason I say that, she hit bullet points while saying this wasn't happening. She said what she did to overcome it and what other people can do to overcome it. It was positive. It was negative. It was optimistic. It was kind of sad in ways. But overall, she hit some points that American people are listening to, and she addressed them. And, I think that was one of the best political ads I have ever heard. And I would just say, I wish more people would run ads like that. Substance and vision. All right. Well, I tell you what, I will tell you this. I think you have heard enough of me today. You've heard enough of me for the week. So I'm going to booger out of here and tell you to have a great weekend, and thank all of you for being in here with me and having a good conversation on different things. I'm not going to go down the list of names. All of you on Facebook, all of you in the chat room at AmericanPatriotRadio.com, thank you for being here. Y'all have a safe weekend. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you back here in the Pickle Barrel Monday morning as we start a whole new week on trying to find a way to get out of this proverbial pickle barrel we're all in. Have a safe one. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Dave, what's up next?
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Bill. Lots going on today. It is Friday, after all, full schedule, everything from Kids Corner, Happy Hour, the Golden Age of Radio. Chuck Scholl's going to be there with the Golden Age of Radio course, followed by ILMT with Mike DeZeno later on today evening, all the way on up into the midnight hour when Reverend Foster Clark returns with Friday night, midnight romance gospel hour. So stay tuned. No reason to leave ATR. Always something exciting happening here.
Thank you, Dave. Bye-bye, y'all.
Thanks for joining us. You've been in The Pickle Barrel with author, speaker, commentator, and show host, Bill Pickles. You are listening to American Patriot Radio.